name is Rachel. I'm a 40-year-old full-time housewife. I live with my husband, Sean, who is a salaryman, and our 10-year-old daughter, Paige, in my husband's company housing. The CEO of the company where my husband works at is my father-in-law, and very often we were invited over to my father-in-law's place to have dinner together.
Well, the food that you made truly is so delicious, Rachel. These dishes really seep into my heart and my stomach.
Thank you so much, sir.
And even this tofu burger. It's so light and refreshing.
I also love my mom's tofu burger.
Is that so, Paige? You like it too, huh? My late wife was great at cooking too. But Sean, you're so lucky that you were able to get a wife like Rachel. Yeah, sure. She's always waiting for you at home with these delicious meals. Sean, you better never forget to be grateful for that. Rachel, I'm gonna take seconds. Another bowl of rice, please.
With such a kind father-in-law and my beloved daughter, happy and healthy, I was the lucky one. However, now that I think about it, around this time, Sean had started to become more and more mean towards me. They say that a common reason for married couples to start fighting is that the longer that you're together, you want the other person to be perfect and you start to get frustrated with them. I can imagine that was the case for us too. Recently, he's even stopped saying good morning and doesn't say a word when he goes to the office. Even though that's bad for the education of our daughter's manners, so I wish he would cut that out. But then one day, Sean messaged me saying that he was going to bring his junior colleagues from work over to our house that night. He said that they wanted to talk about work while having dinner. So I started preparing dinner for Sean and his colleagues and waited at home. And then that night, welcome everybody!
Good evening! We're sorry for suddenly forcing ourselves upon your house.
Pardon us. Oh, this is a little gift from us.
Wow, pudding! Thank you so much! Oh, honey, I'll take your jacket and hang it in the bedroom closet upstairs. When I said that, I reached over to take Sean's jacket. Without saying a word and rolling his eyes as usual, he took off his jacket and threw it over to me. And then I went upstairs to put the jacket on the hanger in the closet. And I tried to go back to the living room where my husband and his guests were, but...
Mr. Sean, earlier, weren't you kind of cold to your wife? It may not be my business, but... Huh?
I was thinking the same thing. I can understand being used to it from your wife, but you can't forget to be grateful for all that she does.
That's right, sir. Ever since I got married, every single day I feel grateful for my wife. She makes me all my meals, and all I have to do is eat it.
And there's always clean, folded laundry whenever I need it. And the toilets are also always clean.
Listen, kids. Once it's been 10 years since you've been married, every household gets like this, alright? That was normal. Totally normal.
Wow, it's awkward for me to go in now. But at that moment...
Mom, are the guests here?
Paige came out of her kid's bedroom and she spoke to me. Yes. When I said that, Paige swiftly opened up the door and went right into the living room.
Welcome, everybody. Good evening.
And she very politely bowed to the customers.
Good evening. What a polite young lady.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. You have such a cute daughter.
I get that a lot.
And then, with Paige's help, I laid out the cooking on the table for the guests. Then, Paige had completely become the idol of the guests. They started asking her about school and idols and YouTubers she's hooked on right now, and they were bombarding her with questions. During that time, I went to the restroom. And then when I tried to go back into the living room, I put my hand on the doorknob, but...
Paige, you really are such a good girl. It must be nice, Mr. Sean. You must be the happiest man.
You have such a polite daughter, and a wife who's amazing at cooking. This fried chicken is also delicious.
This meat is also the best I've ever had.
That's right. My mom is really good at cooking and...
Huh? Are you seriously saying that?
What?
What's so good about this? The menu is so standard, and even the fried chicken and that meat? I'm sure anybody would be able to make it if they just practiced a little bit. Hey, that's not okay! Isn't your wife preparing dinner for you every single day? Don't you know how amazing that is?
But also, look, Paige is sad. Don't you feel sorry for her, sir? Take it back! Take it back! Those words, please take them back!
Shut up! Paige, did you even do your homework? Come on, your dad needs to talk about work. So go back to your room.
When his junior colleagues questioned him, he must have gotten frustrated. I could only hear voices, but I could also tell that he was taking out his frustration on Paige. And so, in order to save Paige, I ran into the living room. I walked Paige back to her room, and although I was in a terrible mood, I did my best not to show it. Then I prepared drinks for the guests. And then Paige fell asleep, and after the guests went home... Hey, Sean! I overheard everything when you were talking to the guests in the living room.
Huh?
And you took out your frustration on Paige. Please don't do that.
Huh? Who the hell do you think you are?
Huh?
Do you have any idea how much I suffer working for you guys during the day? Earning living expenses for you two to live too? You don't understand, do you? All you do is complain and complain and complain. This is so irritating. I'm gonna go take a shower.
Hey, Sean! And then Sean stormed off into the bathroom. The next morning, Sean had changed into his suit and came into the living room. And when he saw Paige already eating her breakfast at the table...
Salmon and miso soup. What the hell is with this average breakfast?
Huh?
I knew it. You're a failure as a wife, and I can't believe everybody was trying to come after me!
Sean started yelling at me that even Paige was startled and her hands holding the chopsticks had frozen. Hey, getting into a fist fight first thing in the morning in front of Paige! Cut it out!
I don't need a meal like this! I don't need the lunch either! Just looking at your cooking makes me irritated! Don't make me meals anymore! Because of you, I have to be lectured by my juniors! Everything is the worst since yesterday!
Sean was causing a scene, and he promptly stomped his feet loudly as he stormed out of the door. At that point, Paige was still frozen with her hands holding her chopsticks up. Paige, I'm so sorry that your dad is scaring you first thing in the morning. When I said that, she finally came back to herself.
Oh, it's okay. I'm fine. Hey, listen, Mom. I think that your cooking is delicious. Thank you, always.
This girl, she's an amazing daughter. That's right. Paige had the ability to instantly know how other people were feeling and react for their sake. She's such a kind girl. Opposite of that, Sean. I definitely won't forgive him. I am angry now. And just as he wishes, I'm not going to make him any of his meals anymore. That night, just as I was told, I didn't make dinner for Sean, and Paige and I were enjoying omurice for dinner. But Sean wasn't at the dining table. Instead, he was sitting on the sofa in front of the television, shoving a store-bought microwave food into his mouth. However, Paige looked concerned as she was looking over at him. And plus, I guess not dinner just for Sean doesn't feel right. I feel guilty and not good for Paige to see that either. That's how I felt, so the next morning I made sure to prepare breakfast for Sean. And Paige and I were waiting for Sean to come down into the dining room table. Not long after that, Sean walked into the living room in his suit. But he glared at the dishes that I made and said,
I told you not to make food anymore, didn't I?
Even if you say that, it makes me feel guilty, and Paige is worried about you too, you know? So for Paige's sake, we should have breakfast together.
I told you I don't need it! Didn't you hear me? Sheesh. And breakfast for today is just scrambled eggs. Is that all you can make? Something that easy? Even though you're just a full-time housewife, you don't even know how to put in some effort to cook for the master of the house, who's exhausted from working hard every day?
When I glanced over at Paige, she looked like she might start crying at any moment. This guy, I've had enough! After he yelled and yelled, Sean grabbed his bag and stormed off towards the front door, but... Oh, wait a minute. Here, take this. And I tried to hand Sean a lunchbox, however...
Like I said, I told you I don't need any meals, and I don't need lunchboxes either!
After he raised his voice, to my disbelief, he took that lunchbox and dumped out the contents into the trash bin. Hey, Sean, what are you doing?
Who do you think you are? All you do is make terrible meals. The fact that you can't even make a decent breakfast or dinner, or even a lunchbox, makes you a failure as a full-time housewife!
Enough. Now I'm furious. Failure as a housewife? Then I suppose that makes you a huge failure as a husband and a father, you bastard! I'm going to divorce you! However, I think the biggest part was that there was one other truth that this guy didn't know yet that was contributing to how angry I was. And then, that truth was going to become the cause for the downfall of this bastard and send him to hell!
If you want to feed me food, then make something more decent! Do you hear me? If you bring out another joke of a meal to me, I'm not gonna let it slide!
As he said that, Sean now grabbed the empty lunchbox and he also took that and threw it into the trash can. How dare you! Do you have any idea who made that?
Huh?
You know, Paige made you that lunchbox!
What?
When I said that, Sean froze into a statue. And then his face started to turn more and more pale, and he looked terrified as he glanced over at Paige. But ahead of his gaze, Paige was still sitting at the dining room table and she was staring back at her father. Sean panicked as he ran over to Paige and put his hands on her shoulders.
Paige, I'm sorry, I thought that your mom made it.
Don't you touch me! Even if it was a lunchbox that Mom made, obviously there's no way that's okay for you to throw it away!
Paige grabbed Sean's arm that was on her shoulder and she threw it off of her.
Yesterday, Mom hadn't made dinner for you, so I thought that maybe she wasn't gonna make your lunch either, and I felt bad for you, so I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and I did my best to make a lunchbox for you!
What?
I was so shocked when I woke up this morning. When I got to the kitchen, Paige was using her whole body to try to scramble up the eggs. Paige truly is the kindest girl, and our angel of a daughter made a lunchbox for you, and yet you, in front of her, threw it right into the trash! How could you?
Give me back my sleep! When it's my most precious sleep because I'm still growing!
No, well...
Sean was getting yelled at by his beloved daughter, who was normally a calm girl, and his teeth started to rattle. The Sean that had been standing in front of me all this time acting so big and tough was nowhere to be found. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't help but laugh.
Mom, can I borrow your cell phone?
What, my cell phone? Sure, but... Upon receiving my cell phone, she quickly started to maneuver it and put the phone to her ear. And then...
Hello, Grandpa?
What? My father?
Yeah, good morning. Sorry to bother you in the morning. Actually, can you believe this? Dad took the lunchbox that I made and he was laughing as he threw it into the trash can.
What? No!
That's right. And he even threw away the lunchbox itself, too. Even though I woke up early this morning to make it for him, he said he didn't need it and laughed.
Hey, wait!
That's right, I can't forgive him. He's the worst. And he's always complaining about the food that my mom makes, too. I feel so sorry for my mom.
Paige, okay, I understand.
And I bet the people at his office are also tired of this guy, too. The other day, people from this man's office came over to her house, but then he was dissing Mom in front of all of them and acting like a big guy. I was seriously so embarrassed. And even though everybody else was clearly embarrassed too, he didn't notice at all and kept trying to act tough. When my mom wasn't there, the people from his office, they were all sitting there looking annoyed with him. I bet he forced those people to come over to our house because he wants to drink alcohol with somebody, but he doesn't have the money to. Because that's what it looked like. Seriously, this idiot has to stop messing around.
This idiot?
After being called this idiot by his own daughter, who was still in elementary school, Sean finally started to have tears in his eyes. Paige was a very smart girl, and if she were to actually try, then Sean was an easy one to take down for her. And yet, silly Sean was always underestimating her just because she was a child.
Paige, forgive me. Dad, I feel very very bad about what I've done.
That's right. So, Grandpa, will you please yell at this idiot too? That's right. Yeah, take him down all the way. Thank you. Oh, does he regret it? No, doesn't look like it at all. He hasn't apologized and he hasn't shown any guilt. And he seems like he has no idea how horrible he's been.
Sean was apologizing to Paige with tears in his eyes, but as soon as Paige hung up the phone, she turned to him and yelled,
More than anything, you need to apologize to Mom right now.
Wow, she's growing to be such a strong woman, my beloved daughter Paige. As her mother, I'm touched. It became time for my husband to go to work, so Sean went to his office with tears in his eyes, but that night the doorbell rang, and when I opened up the front door, standing there with Sean with his suit and his hair a complete mess, was behind him my father-in-law holding him by the neck.
Dad, I get it already. Forgive me. Nope, not at all yet.
Paige must have heard the voice of her dad crying in the hallway because she came out of the bedroom grinning from ear to ear.
Rachel, Paige, I'm truly sorry about this idiot. During the lunch break and after working hours, I ripped him to shreds. But what he's done certainly requires more punishment.
Oh, please, this is nothing for you to apologize for, sir.
No. You know, when I'm thinking about my late wife, I get furious. I'm definitely not going to forgive any man who can't appreciate how hard a full-time housewife works to support her husband. This failure!
Sir, Paige and I have discussed this together, but this man, we don't need him anymore.
What?
We're getting a divorce. And then I handed over the piece of paper that I had gotten at the city office earlier that afternoon, which was divorce papers with my name already signed.
What do you mean, divorce? I see. I understand. Well, I'll take this idiot for now.
Yes, please do as you wish with him.
Grandpa, of course you're gonna make him never be able to do this again, right?
Yes, of course. I'll start by continuing where I left off in the lecture. There's still more to it? But what? Divorce? Stop it! Stop it! Paige, your dad really regrets what he's done. Please forgive me.
Huh? Who are you?
The final blow! So I said, that's all then. Goodbye.
Bye-bye! Hee.
I closed the door on him. For a while after that, we could hear the voices of Sean crying and screaming and his dad yelling at him. And that obnoxious sound slowly started to go further and further away. After that, I was able to get divorced from Sean. I gained full custody of Paige and I was able to receive child support fees and a settlement fee thanks to my father-in-law. And then when my father-in-law launched an investigation into Sean's work ethic in the office, they discovered that Sean was dumping most of his work onto his junior colleagues. My father-in-law had Sean resign from the company and apparently threw him into the care of his friend's temple. Sean had shaved his head, and on top of being used left and right by the temple monk, he was shocked that I divorced him and that his daughter won't see him either, and I heard that he's suffering mentally. Apparently, he looks so old and skinny now that he looks 20 years older than his actual age. Good for him. Well then, on the other hand, for me, with the money I received in the divorce, I went back to my job at the restaurant where I was working before I got married, and life is great. And Paige also seems more at peace, being at home without Sean around. That reminds me, just the other day, Paige said that she wanted me to teach her how to cook, and the two of us were making dinner, but... Wow, Paige, you're so good at cutting the vegetables. It's as beautiful as what they serve in the restaurants.
Mom, you're always busy with work, right? I'm gonna get better and better, and from now on I'm gonna make the dinner, and I'm gonna wait at home for you with dinner ready.
Thank you.
Oh, but will you make it every now and then, because I love your cooking the most.
Paige, you truly are the best daughter in the world. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, Mom. Thank you for watching! What kind of crazy people will we get to see next? Stay tuned for more!